world couldn't believe its eyes. Pope Francis was no longer with us. The news zipped around the globe like a spark in dry grass, lighting up chats and guesses everywhere. People from all corners of life, whether they went to church or not, were stuck to their phones and TVs, watching history happen right in front of them. With no pope in place, it felt like the world was holding its breath, waiting to see what would come next. The empty seat wasn't just about a missing leader, it was a mix of nerves and excitement about what was ahead. Everyone was buzzing, especially those close to the group of cardinals who picked the next pope. Then, out of nowhere, a new face stepped up. The secret meeting of cardinals, full of old rituals, turned into a big surprise. People whispered names of who might take the lead, but no one saw this coming. Luis Antonio Tagle, the friendly cardinal from Manila, known as the Smiling Cardinal, became the new pope. Tagle was a breath of fresh air. His kind heart and real care for people made him someone everyone loved. It was a moment no one expected, like a curveball from above. When white smoke puffed out of the Sistine Chapel chimney, the crowd went wild. Cheers echoed, and tears of happiness flowed. The Catholic Church, often thought of as stuck in its ways, had taken a bold leap. Pope Tagle's first wave to the crowd sparked pure joy. He stood for hope and a fresh start, showing the Church could change with the times. This humble, caring man was now leading the way, his life a shining example of kindness and service. When Pope Tagle stepped into his new role, he brought a fresh way of seeing things that touched the hearts of everyone, whether they were devoted churchgoers or people who often felt left out. The whole world seemed to pause, waiting eagerly for his first words as Pope. Vatican City was buzzing with energy, a mix of deep respect and bubbling excitement. When Cardinal Tagle's name rang out across St. Peter's Square, whispers turned into gasps, and a wave of feelings, surprise, joy, and everything in between swept through the crowd. This wasn't just another day at the Vatican. Choosing Pope Tagle was a game changer, a sign that the Church was ready to shake things up and welcome new voices. It felt like a big, bold step toward a future that was more open and caring. People everywhere were amazed as the Church showed it could move in a new direction. News headlines shouted about this huge moment, and Tagle's warm smile and down-to-earth style hinted at a different kind of pope, one who felt like a friend. He was humble, approachable, and truly understood the struggles of everyday people, especially those who were poor or overlooked. Instead of just talking, he showed his care by reaching out to those who needed help, offering kindness and hope. His election lit up the world with possibility, showing the Church was ready for a new chapter. The wild celebrations in St. Peter's Square proved how much joy and optimism Pope Tagle brought. Behind the closed doors of the Sistine Chapel, a powerful moment of faith had played out. The air was heavy with centuries of tradition and the weight of what was at stake. Each cardinal, dressed in their red robes, carried the dreams and prayers of millions. The soft flicker of candles lit up the sacred room, and it was as if the whole space was waiting for the choice that would guide the Church's future. Cardinals from all over the world stood together, their faces showing just how serious and meaningful this moment was. The cardinals came from all over the world, each bringing their own unique culture, language, and story. It was like a colorful patchwork quilt, different in every way, yet stitched together by one big goal. This mix of voices showed just how far the Church stretched, touching lives across oceans and borders. History felt heavy in the air, and every cardinal knew their decision wasn't just about today. It would shape the Church for years, even generations, to come. The grand halls seemed to whisper memories of past meetings where huge choices had been made, reminding them how important their job was. As the conclave kicked off, excitement and guesses filled the air. Names were tossed around quietly. Friendships formed and faded, and the whole thing felt like a mix of deep thought and a little bit of strategy. Every name they whispered carried a dream for what the church could become. The cardinals had to juggle the old ways with the need for something fresh. Outside, the world waited, holding its breath for that puff of white smoke. Days stretched into nights as people gathered in St. Peter's Square, staring at the chimney with a mix of hope and nerves. You could feel the tension everywhere. People from all over the globe joined in, watching and waiting for news of a new leader. Inside, the cardinals prayed and talked, facing a tough task. They were looking for someone to lead in a world that's changing fast, full of big problems and people questioning their faith. They needed a guide who could blend the past and the present, someone wise and kind who could bring people together, lift up those who believed, and connect with a world searching for answers. The church was desperate for someone to bring hope and a fresh start, someone who could talk to everyone, no matter who they were, and steer them through today's wild times. Then, in the quiet, one name started to bubble up: Cardinal Tagle. It wasn't just a random idea. It felt like a light in the dark. Known for his humble ways and real bond with people, he began to stand out as the one who could lead with heart and purpose. Cardinal Tagle's knack for truly understanding and caring about people started to catch everyone's attention in the conclave. At first, his name was just a quiet whisper. A what-if passed around in low voices. But as the cardinals kept talking, that whisper turned into a buzz. They began to see him as someone who could shake things up in the best way, a leader with the guts and heart to tackle today's big challenges. The more they thought about him, the more he stood out. He had this amazing ability to connect with anyone, a sharp mind, and a deep passion for fairness and helping others. To the cardinals, he looked like the guy who could guide the church into a new chapter, holding on to the best of the old ways while pushing forward. His humility, smarts, and dedication made him seem like the perfect fit for right now. Tagle had everything the church was looking for in a leader. As the conclave rolled on, a wave of hope started building, and the cardinals inched closer to making a bold call. Out in St. Peter's Square, the excitement was electric. People from all over the world, pilgrims of every kind, stood shoulder to shoulder, eyes locked on the balcony, waiting to see their new pope. The air was alive with nerves and thrill. Then, the basilica doors flew open, and the crowd let out a huge gasp. There he was, Luis Antonio Tagle, stepping up as Pope Francis's successor and the first Asian pope in modern times. Tears poured down faces, young, old, everyone. Shouts of joy in all kinds of languages filled the air, and the bells of St. Peter's rang out, their happy chimes bouncing across Rome and far beyond. It was pure, unstoppable happiness, a giant party of faith and hope. When Pope Tagle walked onto the balcony, his eyes sparkled with kindness and determination. He lifted his hand to bless the crowd, and in that second, the world felt new. There was this real sense that something incredible was kicking off. Luis Antonio Tagle's path to becoming pope? Anything but ordinary. Luis Antonio Tagle was born in the Philippines, growing up in a world far different from the fancy halls of the Vatican. As a kid, he saw up close how tough life could be for people who didn't have much. His parents, simple folks with a strong Catholic faith, taught him to care deeply about God and fairness for everyone. Those lessons stuck with him and ended up guiding him all the way to the top job in the Catholic Church. Tagle's journey to becoming a priest was fueled by a love for learning and a big heart for people's struggles. He was a star student, even earning a doctorate in theology from the Catholic University of America. But no matter how smart he got, he never forgot the poor, and those pushed aside. As a parish priest in Imus, Philippines, he worked his tail off to make life better for the people in his community. Word spread about his kindness, his big heart, and his sharp mind. The Catholic Church, a massive family with over 1 billion people across the world, was at a turning point. Its members, spread out over every continent and speaking all kinds of languages, were looking to Rome for a sense of direction and hope. With its long history and deep traditions, the Church was facing some huge challenges that shook its roots. The 21st century wasn't pulling any punches. Poverty, wars, climate change, and a growing number of people stepping away from faith. These weren't just news headlines. They were soul-deep issues hitting millions of lives. The Church had to figure out how to tackle these big problems while staying true to what it believed. People were hungry for guidance, for a leader who could speak to their dreams and worries. They wanted someone who could connect the old ways with today's world, someone to lead them through all the chaos. And in Pope Tagle, they found a spark of hope. His humble ways, his caring nature, and his grasp of the world's messy challenges clicked with so many. He felt like a breath of fresh air for an ancient institution, a leader who could bring new ideas while keeping the heart of the Church alive. When Pope Tagle was chosen, people felt a wild mix of joy and worry. Many cheered for this new leader stepping up, but others weren't so sure. Could this gentle guy from the East really handle the giant job ahead? Leading the Church in such crazy times was no small task, and plenty of folks had big questions with no easy answers. One thing was crystal clear, though. All eyes were on him, and the pressure was sky high. Every move he made, every word he said, even the way he waved hello, people would be watching closely. The faithful were counting on him to bring them together, heal old hurts, and give them a fresh sense of direction. Tagle stepped into a church that was wrestling with fights inside its own walls and tough challenges from the outside. There were heated arguments about beliefs, the role of women, and how everyday people fit into the picture. He had to steer these tricky debates carefully to keep things from falling apart. The awful scandal of clergy sexual abuse had rocked the Church hard, breaking trust and leaving painful scars. Fixing that meant being open, owning up to mistakes, and truly working for justice and healing. Plus, with more people in places like the West turning away from religion altogether, the Church was struggling to stay meaningful in a world that often rolled its eyes at faith. Tagle's time as Pope would come down to how he tackled these big issues and led the Church through a world changing faster than ever. His knack for listening, understanding, and making bold calls would shape what's next for the Catholic Church in the 21st century. The road ahead looked tough, no doubt, but with faith and grit, there was a real chance for brighter days. Oh, and hey, want more cool stories like this? Hit that subscribe button for our channel. God always.